Skylar Gallup back in studio for a new edition of Hey Amarillo. This week, you're introducing us to Anders Leverton. I'm always curious about how you find your guest, and this is one I don't know a whole lot about.
Yeah, this is, I'm very, very excited about this conversation. And this was kind of one of those, I got to meet this guy, and then I was like, I gotta share this with our listenership. So Dr. Anders Leverton is a pediatrician. He's my son's new pediatrician. And with the consent of my son, he's my son's ADHD pediatrician. And when I met him and had that conversation, and like as a parent went through the process of wondering about testing, and then wondering, I don't have an experience with ADHD, so trying to understand it and how can I support my kid. And Dr. Leverton was just absolutely phenomenal about speaking about ADHD in terms that helped me understand, speaking directly to my son, and kind of like mom's an afterthought. And a really interesting thing that is kind of the foundation of the conversation is he himself has dealt with ADHD his entire life. He calls it a superpower. He talks about how that, ideally makes him a very successful pediatrician. This is a really, really cool one.
So what did he say initially? You're in there, obviously. You're seeing him because of your son. How did you work in, oh, by the way, I want you to come on my show?
Yeah, pretty awkward. Just generally, if I have an option, I'm going to take the awkward road. I called. I was thinking about it. I really, there was like a 5-month period of that kind of like learning time where I was just like, man, this guy is exceptional at his work, such a great way to explain things and stuff. And then finally, we left an appointment and I called the office and I was like, how would I get a hold of Dr. Leverton not dealing with the office? And she was like, and I was like, okay.
I'm not gonna lie, that sounded pretty awkward.
Yeah, that's not it, that's not. And I was like, if I needed to talk to him about, and I was like, no. And I was like, okay, so I host this podcast and I think he's interesting. She was like, okay. I was like, just tell him, and thanks. So he called and he was like, so what? And I was like, yeah, I know. But
oh, that's hilarious.
I know, it's so funny that some of those,
you're like, I'm not asking for a date, trust me.
This is really weird, but it turned out really well. So this one is like, I think a lot of us deal with ADHD, or we're, in a relationship with someone, whether it be familial or anything. And man, his insight to the struggles, but the opportunities and the way that brain works is just sharp as a tack and so relatable. And then we also have the whole conversation about becoming a doctor, which I think is always really interesting. He was a young doctor through COVID, dealing with some of that. And it's just, if what we're doing is telling interesting stories, Dr. Leverton brings it.
You can see that interesting story, or listen to it rather, on Hey Amarillo. It's the latest edition of that podcast. It is out now. Learn more about Anders Leverton. You can do that through Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, whatever. But make sure you download it, you subscribe to it, and you just wait for the next episode to roll out. Speaking of which, you'll be back next week for a new guest.
I will.
Okay, perfect. We will see you then. More Studio 4 after this quick break.